Hello, guys. Welcome back to yet another session of the Tech Talk. Today, I think I'm very happy to announce that we have two of the most famous faces of IIEST when they were in college and even now. These people are guys who have guided so many people when they were in college, and the kind of bonds they have made in college are still present even when they are not there at IIEST. We have with us Namit Bhasin, who was an integral member of QMB and an integral part of DebSoc, and a poet and a guide for many of us, including me especially. And we also have Vikram Aditya Sen, who is, as you would know, was the captain of the college TT team, a prolific chess player, and of course one of the best vocalists our college will ever have. Now, why have we invited them? Today, in this session, we are going to strike a contrast between what management is like in India compared to what management is like abroad. So, Namit Bhaiya is actually pursuing something called a Masters of Management in the ESSEC Business School in Cergy, France. It's very near Paris. And this school is ranked third in this particular course. Vikram Da is pursuing a PGP in IIM Kozhikode, and he scored a 99.86 percentile in CAT, which is crazy high. So we'll get a really good practical perspective of how things are in the management field in India and abroad. A lot of practical knowledge is going to come up in this session today, and some of the points that were missed in the previous session that we had on MBA. So we'll get right into it. How are you? How are you guys?
Good, Samarth. It's really nice talking to you, and also really nice reconnecting with Vikram after a long time. We are really close friends, but like the time zone doesn't help. Different time zones, they don't help. But yeah, it's been good. There was a lockdown here, and since the Christmas is coming, Christmas is close, so they are gradually lifting the lockdown, which is good. So yeah, that's about it, and everything else is going fine now. I hope you are fine as well.
Yeah, I am much,
Something
much.
I'll
Yeah.
maybe like to add is that Samarth, again, great initiative by you guys. We always just hope like someone, we always looked for guidance when we were in our third and fourth year, but may not have got better mode of guidance. This is an initiative which I think is really helpful for all the people studying currently in IIST, and I hope we'll have a very interactive and fruitful discussion.
That's lovely to hear from both of you, and thanks a lot for your appreciation. I am also looking forward to a really good discussion, and let's straight get into it. So, I'll start with the obvious question. You've taken the non-traditional path, which, let us say, a computer science graduate or an IT graduate would take from our college. So, when did the thought process start brimming in your head, and like, when did you start thinking about this? What was your motivation to do this? And after you tell me that, I want you to tell us what kind of people should apply for this. Like, if this is what you think, then you're a good candidate for this field. So, a little bit about that also. Can we start with you, Namit Bhaiya?
Yeah, so for me, the thing was that I started working administratively for QMB right after my first year ended. I did like marketing tasks and promotional tasks from a very low scale, and gradually I was involved in organization level decisions as well. So that responsibility actually inculcated my interest into management, into branding, and the management aspects of it. And then it was followed by me searching for internships in a non-technical domain. So I searched for internships in marketing and political economics and things like that. And I think that experience for me was the platform that kind of made me think that I'm not good at this, or I don't want to do this for a living, but I want to do something else. So I think that was the key differentiator for me. And an answer to your second question about what kind of people should look for management or anything else, I think it depends on how like on the range of exploration you can do. I think it largely depends on it, because for me, I used to explore a lot in terms of career path, or in terms of gaining knowledge to different aspects in different fields. So I think it depends on how diversely you can explore. And another thing important is to like find your niche and then stick to it. Like you cannot be changing like from one domain to another in a span of 2 months. So you cannot experiment much as well. Like you can explore, but then once you find your niche, you have to stick to it. I think that's important as well.
Right. So the people who really are interested in exploring the different possibilities that are there out there should do the exploration and then finally stick to one niche so that they can, ultimately get somewhere in that. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, right, Vikram Da, what are your thoughts on this?
And I would just I'll totally agree with Namit. And over here, I'll just like to add the practical fact, which normally we see in a BTech college, that people tend to go try to pursue a career in MBA because the first motivational driver is that they do not like the subject which they are doing. That is the truth. That is the truth, right? I see that as a good initial motivation, but that shouldn't be one of your only motivation. You study about what you want to do. Like if you talk to B school graduates, you talk to people who are studying in B schools and what they are offering and what you actually want to achieve after you graduate. So uh, yes, definitely one of the factors is that you want to shift to a new domain. But is business the domain you want to shift to? That you have to be completely aware of. And again, I would agree to Namit that participating in fests, volunteering in events, and that is something which in a BTech you come closest to simulating the kind of B school which the work you will do in a B school. So maybe from any work, from finance to maybe marketing to operations, you deal with every type of field work while you are managing a fest. So that is really, really important. That is something, if that interests you, I'm sure that the business world may also interest you. There's a thin relation between them. So yeah, that is something again which I'm agree with Namit. And about what think skills are something you have to have before joining a B school if you're up for a B school. What I have seen in my tenure at IIM Kozhikode, there are people from diverse set of backgrounds, for anything from law, from medical to anything you can imagine. So I think if you have uh, the idea about it, if you have the will to pursue this, I don't think the skill set which you already have or the undergrad studies which you're doing, it's not very apt. You can have anything, but still you can prosper really well in this field.
Right. Okay. Cool. So we need to have something apart from the dislike for our engineering subjects to, want to do management as well. Right. Very valid point. So, Namit Bhaiya, I was very curious about this that you have gone to a college outside India to pursue management. So that's a completely different thing. And I think we've not talked to anybody before who's done that. How did you think that that was the right thing to do for you, and how did you start doing it? Like, how did you start exploring? What resources did you get? What guidance did you get? And how did it work out ultimately?
Yeah, so for me, it was kind of a weird motivation or start. Like since two of my very close seniors, Swapnil and Deepan, both of them, they are like studying abroad right now. So Swapnil was actually like my inspiration, or like I saw him preparing for GMAT, and he also studies at a B school in France. It's called EDHEC. And he's working really nicely, and so he was my initial motivation. And like we used to talk, and then I got the initial information about GMAT and about management abroad from him. And since I had personally experienced a positive change or a positive outset in me from like by coming from a different culture into a newer culture, so I was very open into like into exploring another culture which is preferably outside India. So that was like also one of the drivers that got me started. Talking about the preparation and the resources, honestly, it was very iterative and experiential for me. I sat for the GMAT twice. The first time, Vikram knows, I was there as well. I could not score really nicely because there were a lot of like things going along. There was a QMB deliverable to do, and we had our semester and things were going along. So I could not prioritize and manage them effectively. So I could not score well. I scored 610. But then after I interned at PwC and I got a little bit stability, and I kind of like got to gauge that what can I do and what needs to be improved. And then I again thought about giving the GMAT, and then The second time I was more focused, and I was more calculative in terms of taking risks, and also calculative in terms of assessing my mistakes. So I did not work like do a lot of questions, for example, a lot of practice questions, but I analyzed the smaller sets of questions that I did, so that I can improve to a greater margin in smaller amounts of time. That is, I think, what was needed at that time, and that actually helped me. So that helped me. And also I would like to emphasize in the verbal part of GMAT preparation, that reading a lot of online content really helps you, like international online content. So I used to like read a lot of journalism, like a lot of news and stuff, like normal stuff on the web. So that kind of broadens your perspective, both in reading comprehension part and also in sentence correction part, because in reading comprehension you get content from a very diverse range of subjects. Similarly with sentence correction, like your grammar can be checked in many aspects. So these two things kind of helped me. And so like the mixed results of all these calculated efforts was that in the second attempt I managed to score a 700, which was a big improvement from my first attempt, and which kind of like helped me get where I am. So I think it's also very important to bounce back from an adversity, and not take it very personally, and focus on the process. And I think that is what I learned from the entire experience.
Right, that's wonderful. Just so that viewers don't miss it out, very important 2 points that Namit Bhaiya highlighted were, one, if you don't have enough time to do as many questions, then do a little less than you would have otherwise, but analyze your mistakes and try to work on why you made those mistakes, and try to remove those mistakes from your preparation strategy. That will improve it much more than as many more number of questions or as much more time on questions. Another thing was reading online content, because the content comes from a very diverse set of places. So online content from European sites and everything will help you a lot. And of course, bouncing back from adversity, like Namit Bhaiya has done at so many points in life. So moving to Vikram Da, you also have a very unique experience in getting to where you are right now, because I think I'm talking to the first time I'm talking to somebody who has prepared for CAT while working. So you prepared for CAT while working, and you have that work experience. So what difference does it make in your application to IIMs or other management institutions out there? And how was it different in terms of your preparation? So how was that journey like?
Okay, so first of all, I go into the preparation. So CAT is not an exam like IIT JEE. It's not like you have to study day and night and you'll get a good marks. It's not like that. You have to be diligent in your preparation, right? So what I used to do, and I suggest to my juniors to do, is just solve mocks and do not go into the theory. And a classroom course, anything is recommended, but that's not a necessity. The only thing which you need to do is solve a lot of mocks. And as Namit said, analyze your mistakes. That's the most important part, right? Don't make the same mistakes again and again. Then there's no use of it. So what I used to do is I used to go to office at around 10 a.m. in the morning and come back by 7 p.m. I used to give 1 or 2 hour mocks every day, right? And on Saturday, Sunday, I used to give the 3 hour mocks. So yes, if you're working, you have to devote. It's not an excuse. You have to devote some time, but obviously you'll not get as much time as you get in your fourth year, right? So I used to prepare more during my fourth year. To be honest, I used to study, but my preparation was not an intelligent preparation. I just used to study everything that, and I ended up with a meager 97 point something percentile, right? So then I analyzed what I should do and changed my preparation completely. I went for the completely mock preparation, and as it turns out, it really helps. And another thing, apart from the preparation, one thing which again matters is the exam day concentration, your exam day temperament which you have during the CAT. It matters a lot. So even if you are getting very high in mocks, if you're not very focused during your exam day, then you'll surely not score very well. So that is again something which really matters. And again, what in terms of getting into a B school, right? How does experience matter? Like people will tell, yes, have experience, it will help clarifying your mind about what you want to do. I'll just go with the practical approach. Why people go for an experience? Like, okay, so there are three parts to it, 3 or 2 parts. Firstly, maybe let me start that if you have an experience, like some B schools, like Excel, right, they consider the 1 year experience instantly, and some B schools should have a minimum of 1.5 or 2 years. I'll explain how it happens. So when you're filling the CAT form, you primarily fill it during October, right? Uh, and they ask for the experience for that time, not when you're going to join the B school, right? So if you're filling the form in October and joining the B school finally in the July next year, so if you're just a fresher or just gotten into a company, you will just have a 2 or 3 months experience as per the paper. But actually, when you're joining the B school, you'll have a 1 year experience. So that's a loophole. So what I primarily suggest that if you want to go to the top IIMs, you should primarily have a 2 years experience, so that at least 1 year experience shows into your CV, right? So and how experience matters, obviously, there will be a score given to you in which, depending on the IIM, 10 to 12 marks is solely on your experience. You get a 0 if you don't have experience, you get a 12 if you have 2 years experience. So that is directly dependent on it. And just to clarify, like if you and suppose you get out of 300, you get 150 in CAT, right? And a person who is getting 200 in CAT, that's a huge difference actually. If you see, the CAT aspirants will know. But that 50 marks just amounts to around 7 to 8 points extra in your final score, which is given. But the experience will directly amount to 10 points extra. So that's a huge push.
Okay.
So a
Right.
year or two experience is compensating for 50 to 60 marks in CAT. So that is very, very big. So that is the first part, getting into the B school, how experience matters. And I think the most important most important part is that after you get into a B school, your previous experience matters a lot. There will be CV shortlists by company. They will look into your profile, and unless and until you have a good experience, unless and until you have a superb CV, you will need experience to get the top firm shortlists, especially the MBB, the McKinsey Bain, BCG shortlists, or any investment bank shortlist. You'll need to have some experience. So that is again why I suggest that if you want to go to a consulting job finally, or a IB job, or anything related to those, or any high-end operation jobs, so experience is very essential for getting the initial shortlists. So that is how it matters finally.
I think I'll add to Vikram's point. I totally agree to the last experience point, because I have personally experienced it, like during the last 4 or 5 months, when when I was applying for jobs, and there were a lot of factors that were not in my favor. But again, like since I did not have experience, I got shortlisted into good companies. But when it comes to deciding, like the deciding factor, like between two people, and there have been like 3 times in this whole 3 months journey that this happened with me, that the person, like the other person who had better experience than me, was just like 1 year more experience than me, he got the job, despite not performing like very extraordinarily in the 2-person interview. Like we had an interview where we both were there, both the aspirants, but since his profile was a little better, he got the upper hand in the job. So even for abroad, I think 1 year of work experience is never like disappointing. Like it always works in your favor in one way or the another. Like I'm not saying that it cannot work out without experience. Like I did not have experience and I'm like doing okay, like I'm doing fine. But then it adds an added advantage onto your CV, and it opens so many doors for you later on, like in terms of selecting courses, in terms of making the right choices while you are studying or while you're doing your masters. So I think it always helps.
Okay, that's a lot. I think let me summarize it first. So basically, what Vikramda said first was that the importance of mock tests is paramount. So you can do away with the theory and all those explanations and everything. Just give mocks. Just get your hands dirty on mocks, and you will have to spend that time. You will have to put in the crunch, even if you're working. Take out that time from your 9 to 5 or your 10 to 7 or whatever it is, and give those mocks. That will ultimately get you that high percentile. Brilliant. Now, coming to the point of experience, please consider that some colleges like IIMs do not count any 1 year work experience, because at the time of filling the form, that is not more than around 3 to 4 months, and they calculate the work experience at that point. But some colleges like Accelerate do consider the experience that will be there at the time of admission. Apart from that, the softer side of this is that you will get a much better perspective of who you are while making decisions and while selecting the options that you have for your future. Apart from the fact that companies do consider you at a higher point if you have experience, especially in MBBs like McKinsey and BCG and all, for better shortlists. So do keep that in mind. Work experience does improve your pitch in a more softer manner, right? So Namit Bhaiya, one thing I would like to clarify: if somebody has experience in India, would that help to a management course abroad or shortlists abroad?
Yeah, definitely it helps because mostly like the companies they are going global. Like even if you talk about companies like PwC, they have like their PLCs all over Europe, like in France and Luxembourg. So they have their network. So it always works. It's
Okay.
not nothing like you. And I think the purpose of adding experience to your CV is to give a functional reflection of how you are as a professional. And like I think it works on this way. Like in I know about Europe since I have not applied for a job in India so far, but I know about Europe that the name of the company matters, yes, but it also matters that what you did at like in the role and how well you can explain it to your employer or your future employer. So that also is important apart from the name of the company, I think.
Right. Okay. So that's a good point for everybody who is looking for a job also after college in India itself, like SD roles or any other job. Even if you do a job in India, then and want to go for management later on, it will still count. I mean, it will still help you, whatever you do even now. So that will bolster your CV, right?
Yeah, I mean, totally core, like someone, for example, for someone who's doing totally core job, I don't think he will need to transfer his competency from his core competency to management. But someone who's like working as a consultant, for example, and he wants to get a management aspect of consulting, for example, then definitely like working in technology consulting will definitely help. As Vikram, I think would agree because he's done that for 1 year.
Right.
So I think it
Right.
helps. Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, cool. So moving on to the mainstream of our discussion. Um, let us say the exams are over, GMAT is over, CAT is over. After that, what is the application process like? I mean, what are the stages from scoring well in the exam to putting in the application to finally getting selected? So what are the stages like, and what are the things that these top B schools look for? I mean, what is it that you need to have in your pitch? So like Vikram, that can we go with you first?
Yeah, sure. So what I feel is that CAT is only 25% of the process, right? The actual exam starts after that, when you have to prepare for the interviews, and there's a WAT, there's a PI, there's a GD depending on the shortlists you have. So right. So first of all, I can speak from my perspective that if you just before, also I would like to add that if you are a gem, if you are something, if you are a general engineering male or similar profile to that, or an engineer in this, so you'll have to have a good CG to get the top short lists. So that is something I want to add before the discussion, because I had a low CG, right? I had a 7 point, I guess 8 something CG. So that directly cut off my chances in many of the B schools like IIM Ahmedabad and Bangalore. I didn't even get a call in a close to 99.9 percentile. I didn't even get a call uh, ahead of converting it, not even a calls. So after that, you have to prepare for interviews. Like, you have to be generally aware of what is going on around you. You have to be aware about mathematical applications like basic normal distributions and stuff like that. That will be given in any GDPI handbook. So that is very important. People tend to avoid some topics that they will score more on the other topics, or they will divert the discussions. That's not the case. The interviewers will ask direct questions from those, especially in colleges like IIM Calcutta, right? They will directly ask quant questions. So that is general awareness is one, and you have to be thorough with your own profile, right? They can ask you anything. Like, even you have done a 1-day volunteer job in 2011 for some XYZ NGO, your whole interview can be based on that particular job only, right? So you have to be thorough with your own profile. And the what the most important thing, what I would like to say, where I used to struggle during my interviews, that you have to know your subject, right? If you're a computer science graduate, you have to know about everything about computer science. So basically, like the first thing in my IIM Calcutta interview, like people may be wondering that I have such a high percentile, but still couldn't convert Calcutta. Why? So that is something. If you don't have a very good profile, if you have a low CG, your interview should go absolutely perfect. Then only you have a chance of cracking it.
Okay.
So I was asked basically directly about RDBMS and data structures, and I was thrown into my out of my comfort zone completely, and that's where I lagged behind. So this is one learning, and I cannot do anything about it. That my juniors can do, that they have to be thorough with the subject, especially, and they normally ask that which is your favorite subject. If you're not very unlucky, then they normally ask. So even if you're preparing, just prepare top to bottom about everything on that subject. If your favorite subject is data structure, you have to know everything about data structures, right? What happened yesterday in the news about data structure, even that, if there's some development about that, some new data structure, everything about it, right?
Okay.
So that is one thing: general awareness, common aptitude, and everything about your CV. And the most important thing is your speaking skills, right? That is another crucial point for a B school graduate, that you have to have good speaking skills, good soft skills. So these are the 4 or 5 aspects which one can develop after the cat. After giving the cat, he or she is sure that he will get the short lists. Instantly, he can start practicing that. And there are specific coachings also which are dedicated to these GDPI practices, like there is breaks, various institutions specifically. So I would recommend that they join an institution, learn under the guidance of some good teachers who will guide you people better, maybe. So yeah, these are the few sacrosanct points for the GDPI preparation.
Right. Okay. So just to list them once more, do try to maintain a good GPA, subject knowledge. Obviously, you need to have a good way of presenting yourself, speaking skills, and try to prepare everything end to end in your favorite subject. And there are institutions that you can join after giving CAT to bolster your skills that are required for such GDPIs or interviews. So consider that. That's Vikram Das recommendation. Right. So Namit Bhaiya, what was your process like of
Yeah.
exam two?
Yeah, so I totally agree with Vikram on the fact that the actual exam, like CAT for him and GMAT in my case, it generally constitutes only 25 to 30% of the effort for admission to institutions outside India. The process generally also involves writing many statement of purpose and statement of motivations and essays that are a written account of what you feel about certain things and what you feel about your personality in general. And it's a general people who are listening, they can generally keep it as a rule of thumb that institutions abroad are also seeking candidates on the basis of value, that what value the candidates will add to their existing cohort and their existing culture. So that aspect is also highlighted a lot in essays. So for me, I applied to 6 universities abroad based on my GMAT score. And also, I would like to add, I also had to give the examination for English proficiency. So you have 2 options in that. There is IELTS and TOEFL. So I gave TOEFL because it is more, diverse in range of acceptance. IELTS is generally confirmed to institutions in the United Kingdom. So I gave TOEFL and then I applied to 6 places. And on an average, for every institution, you have to write 2 or 3 essays, 2 or 3 statement of motivations along with your CV. Like needless to say, CV matters a lot in terms of what you have done. And again, like after writing the essays, you are shortlisted. So there can be generally 2 sets of interviews or a single final interview. So for 2 universities, I got shortlisted into the second rounds, but could not make the final shortlist. And I got into I got admits from 2 of them, and I am finally into ESSEC. So I interviewed in person for ESSEC basically. The interview for me was again, like I would 100% agree to what Vikram said, that the majority of your interview can be based on a single statement mentioned in your CV. So for me, a major chunk of my interview was based on what I did at QMB. and what I did during my research project. Like they did not even touch what I did at PwC, so they completely left it blank. But they were more keen on understanding the aspects of my research, like the methods of my research, the methods of data collection, for example, since it was a data intensive project. So I totally agree to these points. So the tips I would like to again reiterate: the habit of reading or the habit of seeking knowledge from different sources really helps you in forming a narrative while writing essays. This is for like people who are aspiring to go to study outside India. I think you do not have to only while writing such essays. A general advice would be that you do not have to only think about your perspective, but where your perspective is located in the bigger picture. So you have to also keep sense of the bigger picture while thinking about what you want to do. Is it in sync with the larger objective of the community you are going to be a part of? So I think that is very important to understand. Again, like as Vikram mentioned, there are many institutions that give personalized coaching for such interviews and for such essays and stuff. I did not, take any coaching. I wanted to learn myself and iterate myself, since I had that kind of a risk mitigation strategy, since I already had a job. But for someone who's only and only focused on, going abroad and doing nothing else, for example, he or she, I would recommend he or she should take a consulting, should take some specialized form of consulting. So that is there. And so after the interview, you generally get your admit. And since we are talking about very good colleges and very good institutions, so their admissions department, they then guide you through the whole pre-admission process, which generally involves your accommodation abroad and your visa procedures and all those things. So that is not very troublesome. Definitely there are a lot of documents, a lot of paperwork involved, so it can sound humongous, but after you get an admit, everything gets done, to be honest. So it's generally easy after that. So that is a generalistic advice, to be very aware of your own profile, and to also understand the values of the institution where you are applying to, the history and the culture of the institutions where you are thinking of applying to. I think that will really help people who are aspiring to go abroad.
Right. Okay. So one major point I think everybody should remember is try to read a lot, and it will give you a certain sort of narrative, like Namit Bhaiya said. And that narrative you can try and fit into the global scheme of things, which will, have an impact on the society at large, which people in those countries would want to inculcate in their own. So I think that is something you should really focus on. And obviously people are there to help you with that, and you should go and take their help. And don't be intimidated by the large chunk of paperwork or the multiple steps in the process, because ultimately if you get an admit, ultimately everything will work itself out. Right. So now you have got into such amazing schools, and you're obviously on the path to ultimately earning well also, even though that should not be the main consideration. But before that, before getting into such institutions and having that inflow of money, how do you fund these programs? I mean, they're very expensive. Like both of your programs are at least 20 lakhs, or like Namit Bhaiya's is even more because it's outside. So how do you fund that, and how do other people normally fund it? Because there are many ways. So what are the opportunities for people who may not have that kind of fund, or even if they do?
So for me, my total tuition fee was 41,500 euros for for the entire program duration, which is flexible. For in our course, it can be anywhere between 2 years to 4 years. So we have to pay the first half of it in the first year, and the second half in the second year. So for the first half, I did not take a loan. Like my parents sponsored it. Thankfully, they had some savings. But generally, what the policy in France is that a lot of companies, they hire students on jobs, like on partial contract jobs, which are called apprenticeships, and the students who do it are called apprentices. So it's generally a work study program where you work and study in tandem, like you have a full predefined calendar, which so I got that apprenticeship offer from a company. So I have to work for them for 2 years on a contract, and it's weekly. 3 days I have to work in the office, and 2 days I have to work in the school and complete my remaining credits to get a degree. So at the end of that contract, I will be done with my degree. So I get a monthly salary which is lesser than the basic pay for a full-time employee, but it's good enough for a student. But the benefit of this apprenticeship contract is that the institution and the government, they both need to pay your education fees. So basically the company and the government, they sponsor you for your tuition fee. So my tuition fee, it got completely refunded back to me. Like the company where I'm working and the government, the French government, they they paid the entire fee. This is beneficial in case of the entire European Union, where the labor laws are pretty strict, and once you a full-time employee is hired, he cannot be fired and stuff like that. So that's why companies preferably hire a lot of students. So this is like one of the major ways of financing your studies, especially in France and especially in my school, because my school has a contract with many companies, many French and multinational companies for apprentices, for hiring apprentices. So this is one way. The other way, if someone does not have such a large amount, which is which can be very obvious, even I don't have it, is to take loans from various credit institutions exclusively for education. For example, I can remember an institution called Prodigy Finance. So they give you loan for your entire tuition, and the payback period is pretty large, like 20-25 years. So you can finally graduate and get a job, and then start paying the interest also. So for the first 3 years until your education, you do not have to even give an interest. So it's a pretty good option for people who cannot finance it presently, but being in that good institution can assure them of a good job, and then they can pay the money back gradually. So this is one of the option as well. And as far as the living expenses here are concerned, yes, they are also a little on the higher side as compared to India. Like generally, an amount anywhere between 600 to 800 euros is good for someone with a normal lifestyle. I'm not talking about having a lavish lifestyle or a very low key lifestyle. I'm talking about a normal living standard of living. So 600 to 800 euros, including utilities and everything, is good enough in France. But it also varies from country to country. So it is always better to plan before ahead of your finances, like not only the tuition, but also the living expenses. So that is also, I think, important. So that is how I managed to finance my education. And now things are a little better financially since my tuition has been paid off. So yes.
Okay, very new sort of ideas that we are introduced to. For anybody who is worrying about the financial crunch, like Namit Bhaiya is, Namit Bhaiya is working with a startup that have hired him on an apprenticeship, which is the equivalents of which will be there all throughout Europe. They will hire you on not as much as the full-time employee salary, but they will pay off your tuition and they will give you a good enough income to survive. And along with that, if that thing does not work out for you, which is not very likely that it will not work out for you, there are things or banks from which, or places from which you can take loans, and the period for which you can pay them is very large, and the interest is not charged for the first few years of your education, which is another plus point. And apart from that, if you live a normal lifestyle over there, then it can be managed overall after you get there. So that's should be a very big hope for everybody who is considering this but thought about the money aspect. So in India, Vikram da, in India, how is it managed, for various kinds of people?
It is similar, like around, I would say around 75 to 80% students go for loans, and these banks are really eager on giving loans to B school students. Like normally the collateral involved is very less or negligible, what I would say. So yes, it is expensive. Most people go for loans. And apart from that, okay, some people also finance it from themselves for the family savings or whatever other modes they have. But one thing I would say that in two basic things basically, while you're doing a MBA in India, in for one of the top B schools, you will go for it's a compulsory summer intern or SIP, summer internship process or summer placement. So you will work at a top firm where you'll normally earn around 2.5 to 3 lakhs. So that around reduces the burden by maybe around 20%. Further, there are a large number of scholarship schemes. A large number, what I say, like in BTech, we see around 3 to 4 good scholarship schemes. While going in a good B school, you'll see more than 20 good scholarship schemes. So if you have the merit, then you definitely will be lenient on the amounts and you'll get a 3 lakh, 4 lakh scholarship. So maybe if you're a good student, a meritorious student, so you can have around 6 to 7 lakhs state reduced from the total amount. So that's around 30 to 40%. So apart from that, yes, loans become very necessary. It becomes very, very necessary, and the amounts are always rising. They're never falling. From 18 to 19 to 20 to 24 now, it will rise. And I feel that the keeping in mind the ROI, the return on investment, it's not a bad gamble. It's a good gamble, and so yeah, basically, you'll also earn around 25 to 30 lakhs straight away after getting out of a B school. So I think it's worth it, and it normally doesn't pose as a barrier to any of the student. Right.
Right. Okay. Very essential points. One, that people can take loans, and if you're a good student, there are many more scholarship schemes than there are in BTech or bachelor's degrees. So, and apart from that, if you do have an internship in the summer, which that will also reduce around 20% from your complete tuition, that burden. So overall, I think 6 to 7 lakhs or 30 to 40% equivalent will get reduced from your tuition. And apart from that, you can take loans and remunerate it that way. After you get a job, of course, you'll be earning pretty well. So overall, the ROI, the return on investment, is pretty good, and it's like Vikram said, it's not a problem. Brilliant. Now that you have reached these
Samarth,
schools, yeah,
before
yeah,
moving ahead, I would also like to add on the scholarship aspect. I missed it. Like for Europe as well, I think there are a lot of like student scholarships since Europe. Like especially, I can say about that is very welcoming to foreign students. So anyone who's
okay,
thinking of going into Europe, you can always have a look at the European Union's website for students. Like you can just randomly Google it, and you will find like lists of sponsored programs where according to your personal situation or financial situation you can check out the programs for which you are eligible to. Apart from that, the schools you will be applying to, they also have their in-house scholarship programs, but the range of that, like the frequency of students receiving the aid is like pretty less. So like it's like one or two students out of the entire cohort will get a 70 or 80% tuition fee reimbursement straight away. So it's always better to keep a look on the government and the European Union sponsored scholarships before like while you are thinking of applying to Europe especially.
even better that you have more opportunities outside as well, in terms of scholarships, either from the European Union or from the college itself. So I think everybody should keep an eye out for that as well. That's really great to hear, and that gives a lot of hope. So now that you have made it to the best of the B schools, ESSEC, IIMs, so what is life like over there? Because I'm asking because anybody who is watching this would have some sort of inclination, maybe, about what life is like in a B school and what things go on over there. How will I survive? What will I have to do? So a little bit about that. Can you shed some light on it, like Vikramda?
Yes, sure. It is, again, I would like to reiterate that it is totally contrary to what you experience in your fourth year last semester, like, right? So, especially the term one in a B school, it's very, very extremely difficult, what I would say, because you have absolutely new subjects. You have and B schools are normally divided into 3 semesters or 3 trimesters in a year. So the workload is automatically 1.5 times what you used to have. And so, you have to devote a huge number of hours per day, 8 to 9 hours studying, doing assignments, practicing cases, having peer-to-peer learning, various aspects involved in it. But the good part is that normally people don't mind it. Like they are very happy to give such an effort after joining a B school, because everyone is putting an effort and it's really interesting, right? So yes, you have to put in the effort, but it is not monotonous. It is not boring. It is, you learn something new every day, especially from the peer-to-peer learning, discussing cases. And apart from that, I would say that apart from in a B school, apart from studies only take up only, I would say, 30 to 40%. There is a huge number of opportunities like joining societies, joining clubs, uh, joining groups like consulting groups or financial group specific committees, and then practicing for your summer internship processes, practicing for your final placements. Everything, many things are involved in it. So time, you have to devote a large amount of time, but at the end of the day, it's really interesting and you don't mind it. Like even after a long day of work, you're going to sleep at 5 a.m, right? And you have you have classes from 8:30 the next day. You will just sleep for 3 hours, but it's not very tiring. You don't get tired. Everyone is doing that around you. So it's when everyone is doing something like that around you, it doesn't become very difficult and you actually start enjoying the process. So I would say that after joining the B school, any person will get used to this kind of curriculum. It's not very difficult. People say that, yeah, बहुत पढ़ना पड़ता है, you have to give a large amount of time, you have to give a large amount of, but it comes naturally into a B school student, what I feel. Yes.
That's really amazing. I mean, it really seems as we are really enjoying your life over there and you're very happy with it. And it gives me a lot of, good ideas of what a B school will be like. And I really would like to, go someday. So, Namit Bhaiya, what is your life like?
Yeah, like as Vikram mentioned, first of all, like for me, it's a little like there's an added layer to it of like adjusting to newer surroundings. Like now it's been more than a year. Now it's a lot better, but earlier on, like it was a constant, struggle for me to, maintain a routine and also like the added responsibilities of taking care of yourself, like cooking for yourself and like maintaining a lifestyle, like kind of keeping your room clean, and because you have to do everything on your own, like it was initially challenging for me, but then like I kind of started to like that challenge, and like I started to enjoy cooking, and that like now that is something that makes me feel closest to home when I cook dishes that like I used to enjoy back home with friends and stuff. So that is there, but as Vikram very correctly mentioned, the first term is academically really intense with like new courses and new ways of learning and new ways of assessment as well, because in a normal BTech course we only have, for example, a midterm and a final exam, but for example in a business subject like there's marketing, so there are a lot of like cases, there are a lot of like weekly assignments and peer-to-peer discussions and all these things. So like there's a constant involvement required from the student side, which I think is a very like stark difference from what we used to do in BTech. So that kind of adaptation is exciting. Just like I'll use the word exciting because it is like because it like makes you learn in so many new ways, and which is really nice. So I think the transition, it more or less happens naturally, because then you kind of see what is in front of you and then you kind of adapt to it. So that should not be a problem for anyone who's like on the planning stage right now. Like that should be something that you should be looking forward to. So I think the experience has been great, and it should be great for anyone who's aspiring to be at this stage at some point of time.
That's amazing to hear. And the loveliest aspect was the amount of involvement you have in this life, the independence you have, and then the involvement with what you're learning and the application of it constantly. And of course, peer to peer reviews and how you're connected. So that's really amazing. And I hope people can get inspired to pursue these roles in the future. And for even more inspiration, let's talk about what happens after. Like what are in India and then and then abroad, what are the prospects that you have? Specifically, everybody knows you'll do something related to business management, but what are the specific prospects that you can look for? Okay, these are the things that are available to me. Am I interested? India or abroad? So what are those things like?
First of all, you have to have a clarity on what you want to do. Many people don't have a clarity before joining a B school. I also honestly didn't have a clarity on what I want to do. So after you are engaged in the first term courses, you have an idea about what things are going on in the industry and what all will happen finally. So there are many LOSs, line of domains in which a B school graduate can go in, finance, operation, marketing. Most people will be aware of it, right? Consulting. So in India, what I feel is that uh, specifically for India, consulting and finance is seen as the top jobs, what I would say, to keep
Right.
it straight, like in investment banks or corporate banks or consulting firms, so specifically the MBBs, as I said, the McKinsey, Bains, and the BCGs. Right. So if you I would like to go ahead with the discussion on that, because I know personally, like I had a few MBB shortlists, I had the investment banking shortlist, and how you would go ahead with preparing them. While doing your BTech, first of all, it's very sacrosanct that you have specific PORs, right? Position of responsibilities, may it be from small volunteer work or heading a big team. So that is very, very important. While you know. It will be reflected in the CV finally in the B school, right? Again, it's very important that uh, iterating that CV is very important in the terms of a B school. During a BTech, what you would see that everyone used to submit the CV and everyone used to get called for the apti tests. It doesn't happen in B schools, right? 500 people will send the CVs and only 15 to 20 people will get calls, just based on the shortlists, based on the CVs. So CV is very important. The things you have in your CV is very important. So how you can build it up while doing your BTech, you can build it up while doing your work X, just small position of responsibilities, some extracurricular activities preferred, and some internships, which is primarily related to something about business, not necessarily totally a core. It has some aspect to business. Even if it doesn't have some aspect to business, you can connect it to some business process, right? That is very important in the final interviews. So yes, for consulting and IBs, I would feel that being the most sought out branches in B school, what I feel, you have to have a good balance CV, you have to have a good profile, specifically, which people can build in the third, 4th years. It's not very difficult. Uh, and it is preferred that you have previous knowledge. I was very lucky to go through an investment bank and get through, but I didn't have any professional courses. Like normally people with CAs and CFAs normally get through. If you want to finally go into the finance domain, then it is preferred that you have some professional degrees with you. So honestly, you know that everyone knows that you can balance your life in BTech and you can explore other options as well. So fine, if you want to go into finance, then finally what I would say that go for the CFA course. CA is not it's not possible, but for the CFA level 1, CFA level 2, it is very possible. And I've seen engineers doing it parallelly with the 3rd and 4th year studies. And so that is one thing. For the finance. And for consulting, there's no prerequisite knowledge. You just have to have a very big balanced CV and a good CGPA. And if you don't have a good CGPA, you have to balance it out with your good academic achievements. Like I had a very bad CG, as I already related. I had a 7 point something CG. So, but I had good enough academic achievements to balance it out. So these are the few things which you can do, which will help in getting into the good shortlist in a B school, which is the primary objective of any B school student, is to get through good shortlist. After joining the B school, everyone goes for the placements. To be honest, I'll be absolutely practical with it. And these things may help you out in those things. And last thing I want to add is that if you're going for a good job, the amount of effort which will be required from out of you is also you'll be really big. You'll be paid a hefty amount, and you will be also expected to work more than 100 hours a week. Okay, so that is especially in the cases of banks, I would say. But yeah, the amount of dedication or the amount of knowledge you would require is huge. And that is why I would say that's why I like to iterate that you should have specific skills and specific what I would say background experience. You have to know what you are trying to do, because you just go into a B school. I would go into the finance, and you get into finance, and after you start doing the job, and you see that what have I got myself into. So you should have some specific experience, that is, I know about finance, I would require to do this kind of job, and I'm interested in that job. That's the most important thing. So yes, read about things, as Namit says, read a lot, and that's what makes you a good fit for a good candidate in the top firms.
Right, right. Okay. Namit Bhaiya, what do you think?
For me, like it is more like as Vikram mentioned, like I think it's not only India, but I think everywhere in the world that consulting and finance are the hot shots. Like the MBBs and like big investment banks, bouquet investment firms. These are the ones that are the most lucrative even here. Plus the addition of like having a head office in Paris, like it makes it even more lucrative. But the difference I think from what is available in India is that like you here can customize your course according to what you feel is right for your career path. So
Okay.
you can choose like apart from the core courses that Vikram mentioned that every MBA candidate or grad has to do, masters business grad has to do, we are free to like take elective, take specializations to add to our master's degree in order to be employable in the domain in the future. So, for example, last year I was a part of the Leadership and Diversity Chair, which was co-sponsored by L'Oreal. So, as you might know, L'Oreal is doing great work in like diversity and creating, you know, new standards for beauty and stuff like that. So, we were involved in like subjects related to culture. But now, like this year, after starting to work, I know that I want to go into the field of retail and I want to go into the FMCG industry. So I joined the food business challenges track chair, food business challenges chair. So there we are working on subjects related to food financing, food marketing, and food supply chain and things like that. So here I think the possibility of taking a very niche specialization is more pronounced than it might be the case in India. But then again, like as Vikram mentioned, it is very important to gauge yourself about how you want to go about it and about what you actually want, because like the first term gives you a very good opportunity to have that kind of discussion with yourself about what you want to do in the future. So that is there. And one specific difference, as Vikram mentioned, the importance of having a good CV, that is there here. Plus here also writing a very good cover letter is also very important. Like it goes a long way in kind of you attempting to make a connect with your future employers. Also I've personally experienced while applying all this time that a very good cover letter which like very concisely explains why you want that role, why you want to work in that company, and how you are culturally fitting and how you are as an individual personality wise fitting into the values of that company, goes a long way in establishing a connect that will give you a job in the future. So I think that aspect is also added over here. So for anyone who's also looking on writing good cover letters, I would recommend use the STAR methodology, which is like thinking about anything that you have done from an aspect of situation, task, action, and response. So like by that way like if you work that way, like by assessing what was the situation, what was the task that you did, what was the action that happened because of the task that you did, and what was the result of your action. So that way it's a chronological narrative, and like it goes a long way in making a good connect between you and someone who's reading what you have sent him. So I think these suggestions people can take for writing good cover letters and for writing good narratives about yourself and what you have done.
Right. Wow. Okay. So, as everybody can notice, there are a lot of opportunities depending on your particular interests that, of course, you can start exploring while you're studying and then get to know actually how much you want to do something. And then, of course, the way you present yourself really matters in where you end up. So, Namit Bhaiya and Vikram Da, you have had a lot of experiences in the world of jobs, let us say, and that may in one case in India, in one case abroad. So you have a very good idea of how the markets are shaping up. So after all this hindsight, what are the lessons you would like to give? What are the advice points that you would like to give to our listeners, to your juniors, to anybody who's watching this? And what are your final words of wisdom?
So I guess I've covered most of the points, but yes, it is very important. I would like my juniors to learn from my own mistakes. It is very important that you have a goal. You have a goal and you work towards it. Goal. You don't have an ambiguity in what you want to achieve finally, right? So if you want to go for a B school, you have to have clear thoughts on what to do. If you want to go for a consulting firm after your fourth year, you have to have clear thoughts and prepare for it. And how to have these clear thoughts, as I explained that while going into a B school, the first term helps you in getting the clarifications, but while doing BTech, there's no one to guide you. There's no subjects which will guide you, Acha, I want to go into this. So you have to read a lot about things. You have to read articles, not necessarily newspapers, but articles. Keep yourself updated, see YouTube videos, know about the market, what's going on around you, what's going on in your city, what's going on in your locality, anything which helps you to recognize and appreciate the value chains of various industries around you, right? And these things are also important finally when you go into a B school. If you understand and appreciate the value chains of different industries, be it FMCG, be it any the uh, NBFS industry or finance industry, consulting industry, you will have a general idea, and which will always help you throughout your course and throughout your placements. So read, keep yourself updated about everything. That is a general idea, general help or general thing I would like to say to all of my juniors. And if specifically you want to get into a B school, you have to have a very clear mind. You have to be aware of the where you want to do an MBA. If you want to do an MBA outside India, within India, in India, what you want to do. There are again many courses being offered currently: PGP, PGPBM, PGPDM. What, if anything, specifically suits you? You have to read a lot about them, and and again apply for those universities, prepare for those exams specifically. And yes, apart from that, just keep your mind open, have good discussions with your friend. It's very important. Like Namit would agree, like we used to have long night discussions, political discussions, business discussions, very fruitful discussions while I stay in hall. Also
Yeah.
some petty discussions as well. But yeah, we have fruitful discussions is very important with your peers, which helps you get a clarification on what you want to achieve finally. uh, so that's what I would like to say. Keep yourself updated, work towards your goal. Your goal will not come walking towards you. You have to go to your goal, and take it step by step. If you want to go for a Indian B school, prepare for CAT. The only focus should be CAT at first. Don't even think about the GDPI. While competing and completing the CAT, if you have a calls, then just stay fully focused on the GDPI preparations. Like you will get around 3 to 4 months, and that's enough, I would say, to more or less prepare for it. And again, after you get into a B school, again you have to start the learning process whatsoever. So it's a continuously evaluative learning process which goes on if you have decided to go into the business career. So there's not a stop button. I think if you are going to a business career, the last time you can chill for a long amount of days is during a BTech. That's the last moment, and after that your life just starts rolling at a faster pace every day. So that is, I would like to say that the people should be ready for it who want to go into the business line finally. And best of luck to all my juniors who like to pursue a career in business, surely.
Thanks a lot, Vikram. That's a really, really wonderful message and loads of guidance. So I think all of us need to keep in mind that we need to have a clear goal, and we need not, we should do away with the ambiguity that there is in our heads at the moment, and try to fixate on something and work towards it. And of course, life will become very rigorous once we get into the business, world, and we're building ourselves for that industry. Namit Bhaiya, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think even I have mentioned most of the things. I would just like to reword what Vikram just said. That I think it's about the art of incremental progress. That it does not stop at the moment when you've given your GMAT or your CAT, or once you got an admit. It does not stop there. Like you have to take smaller steps and keep on incrementally improving yourself for for the bigger challenge, because it's not that your life will stop in 3 years from now. Like our lives will stop in 3 years from now when we have done our MBA. Then after that there will be a new phase, and there will be newer challenges, and we have to inherently, like from the inside and on paper, get ready for that. So from the inside to get ready for that means to like focus on what's important and what's not and prioritize, and how to be ready for that on paper is to like keep improving your skill sets, keep improving your CV as you go, as you work about. And as Vikram said, like be ready for the grind, because that is what we are destined for, I think. So yeah, I think it's just that. And also it's also important to enjoy the process and like enjoy your own growth, and to enjoy it with the people you have carried on this journey with. As Vikram mentioned, our discussions, that is like something I really miss on a very regular basis. So yeah, so I think just have fun and be focused, and focus on the and the results will follow for themselves. I think that is something you should not be worried about initially, the results, because if you focus on improving the process and optimizing the process, I think that will show in the results. So that's something people should think more about. And I wish everyone the best in whatever they wish to do. And I'm really sure that you will do great things, all of you.
Wow. Thanks a lot again, Namit Bhaiya, for that. I think one thing I've picked up from that, and I hope everybody else does also, is that the process is continuous. Enjoy it. Treat it as your friend. Don't think about the results initially, because they will automatically follow. So I think that's something brilliant that Namit Bhaiya said, that will give us hope. And you guys mentioned one thing, and because of that I have to ask you one question, like before the session ends. How much do you miss BE college? It's been 2 years since you've left, so like how much do you miss BE college?
Right, it's just another feeling. Everyone, I would say, everyone who passes out from B college, if it's he or she is asked after 1 or 2 years how much you B college, and it will be a massive amount, because the not in every aspect, actually, I would say, the friends, the peers, and small things, going to the first gate, have a chill life, not too many headaches in your life. So that is something, the hall culture, especially for the boys, I would say, that is especially something I miss. And also, the long walks around Vidisha Lake, all the romantic walks which people have over there in the campus, right? So yeah, there are
Speaking
many
from experience.
aspects. So many aspects attached. It's an emotion. Like, honestly, people currently studying in B college may not feel that they will feel, but the actual emotion rises after you graduate, after you go out of the college, and after you start missing that. I had such a great life, I had such a tension free life, and now
Yeah.
it's something totally different. So yeah, I really miss those days, and I wish that I get to re-experience that one day, maybe.
Namit Bhaiya?
Yeah, like Vikram explained it. Like I think it's a feeling that cannot be like put down in like a 2 minute or 3 minute verdict or speech. Like it's very unexplainable. Like the entire camaraderie, the culture. Like it was a different place. Like to be honest, like I've been like now living in very different worlds, and like even if like you tried that space for yourself, you won't be able to, because like that space is created like over a time period of like good and bad experiences for everyone, and everyone shares it. So I think that bond is like something that I miss the most. And like the entire culture, like as Vikram said, there were worries, but like not as today. And we used to enjoy a lot, like we used to chill, and like those discussions, those debates, and then the fun of watching a football match together, or watching a cricket match together, or eating good food when something, when there's a treat in the mess or something. Like earlier those were small things, but now you look at each thing and you that how privileged and how lucky you were to have those memories with those people. I think that thought in itself is something that I would love to experience again. I don't know when, to be honest, but I hope that yes, we get to meet soon, and in B college. Yeah.
Right. Looking forward to it.
Lovely, lovely. This has been, I think,
Yeah.
a very informative, candid, and pleasant discussion with you guys. And I'm really thankful to you for having taken out the time from your very busy B school schedules. So I think I'm very fortunate that I have seniors like you. My peers and my juniors and my seniors are very fortunate to have seniors like you. And thank you for sharing everything you have with us and for being in the places that you are in to tell us from the inside. So thanks a lot. And with that, if it's okay with you, I would like to say goodbye.
Yeah. Goodbye and stay safe, everyone. These are weird times. First priority is to stay safe and stay healthy physically and mentally. So yeah, stay safe and stay hopeful. Bye.
Sure, Samarth. Thank you once again for having us. It was really interactive and it was a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.